Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And we're going to talk about Cottage Garden, which is the first in the line of Tetris piece games that are about nature.
From Stronghold Games.
Boom.
So Cottage Garden is a game that I always heard really great things about, and I looked at it and said, I will never play that.
Yep.
And it was when we went to Gen Con and got to check out Spring Meadow, which is the third in the line, and we finally played that. And even that one, I was like, all right, I'll play it because they want me to. And like we played it, and I was like, this is really good. And after that experience, said, well, now I want to play all of them because are they all this good? Like, have I been missing out on this the whole time? And for the most part, yes, this is definitely my least favorite of the three of Cottage Garden, Indian Summer, and Spring Meadow, but we'll get to that in another video. It's a good game. You have 2-player boards that you're trying to fill completely up, minus the spots that have pots and these little watery looking...
They're covers. They're flower covers.
Oh, why do you cover your flower covers?
I don't know.
And so how you score points based on how many flower pots and flower covers are visible, and you have 2 boards, so you're working on 2 simultaneously, or you can focus on one. When you finish one, you swap it out, and you're drafting the tiles from this the same way that Spring Meadow does.
So he's right that Spring Meadow was the first one that we played, and we liked it so much that we wanted to check out the other 2, and we'll put links to our thoughts on Spring Meadow and Indian Summer and the comparison video all in the description box down below. But I will agree with Wes that this is probably my least favorite. Not to say that I don't enjoy it, because I do enjoy it. I even have the app version that I play, on my phone. The best thing about these games for me, is actually the drafting. So while I do really like Indian Summer a lot, it's missing drafting, and I liked Barren Park a lot, and it's missing drafting. So that is always my favorite thing about these types of games.
And I love how this game and Spring Meadow does the drafting, where you've got the grid out here, and this is the die, and that it's the little lamppost that moves around, and you take from the column or the row that it's on. So like going around the corners, we have the chance to both go for the same piece, and the row only refills once it gets to a certain level of empty. So there could be some strategy of that. Like, if I take this, it'll refill on his turn, and he'll get all these options. So I'm not going to take that so that he's more limited. But that's a very specific hate drafting that, like, it's one of those that, like, it can come up. But I guess at the end of the day, you're probably better off just doing what's better for you.
I don't know. While that may not be the best strategy, and it definitely is not something everybody's going to do, that aspect is something I really like. I really enjoy being able to be like, not only am I going to take this, but I'm going to take it so that you don't get it. And that's probably the best thing that this game has going for it, because when compared to the others, and if we say it in this video, I'm like, oh no, what are we going to even talk about in the other video? Now you know the order we film them in. Compared to the others, there are a couple of areas that this is lacking or like a little bit clunky. The scoring is a little bit weird. The way you move these tokens up this track. Like, I get it. It took me a little while to be like, why is it done that way? Why is it not just moving up? And it's okay. I just don't feel like it adds all that much. I'm never like, I'm crossing this line, so I'm going to get a cat, and then I'm going to do this, which let me trigger that. Like, it's like, okay.
I had a few of those moments in the game, and actually, you can line it up perfectly, because like once you get to the last round, you're losing points every turn, but if you ever try to like overspend points, they're gone. So you want, like, if I'm going to score 5 points this round, I don't want to move a cube that's 4 spots away from 20, because I'm going to lose that last point. So you can, and I feel like for me, I'm never going to be able to plan that well to be like, okay, next turn I'm going to do this, which is going to be this many points. And if you are, that's great. But I did have some cool things come together. I'm like, I can do this and do that, which give me this, which will score that, and then move this one. So I did get some of that kind of comboing going on that again, I did enjoy that. I think my negative is almost just like the simplicity of it, because it is a very laid-back game. I mean, it's about gardening, so it's not going to be super cutthroat. But I think that of the 3, this is fittingly, because it's the first one, the most basic and the simplest. So if someone's getting started, this could be a good place to get them started going with it. And it could just be because I pretty much played all 3 of them together that I was able to do a quick comparison and say, well, this was fine, but I definitely would play those other ones first.
Yeah, we played them like back to back.
Yeah. So that's my biggest complaint with it, is I just felt like it was a good like appetizer, but there wasn't really a lot of meat and potatoes in the game for me.
The other thing that I didn't, it's not that I didn't like, I just didn't care about it, is when you finish your tile, you take all the you wipe the board and you take all the pieces and you add them to the end of the draft row, and like you could add them in any order, and I'm always like, really? That's like, when you're playing Magic, if any of you've ever played Magic, where they'd have these cards that would say, you get to draw 3 and then take 1 and put the bottom 2 on the bottom of your deck in any order. I'm like, do you really need to order the cards at the bottom of your deck? Do I really need to worry about the order of the pieces at the end of this row? Maybe if you've played the game a whole bunch, you do a whole lot of counting. But,
maybe it's just there to say, don't worry about it. Like, the way it was worded, then maybe because we're so competitive, we're in any order, I'm like, well, there must be some way for me to look at this and be like, this is the order that's worst for Tom. But maybe it's just doing it to be like, just throw them out there and don't worry about, okay, well, starting with the left corner, put them each out there. Because I'm sure there are people that would nitpick if it didn't tell you in what order to put them out there.
And be like, I got a Board Game Geek it to know the order. But it sounds like we're being more negative, and it's only just because we like all these games a lot.
Yeah.
So if this was the first one we ever played, I would have been like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I probably would have been like, this is good.
I don't know if we were ready for it yet.
Yeah, we probably weren't ready.
Again, playing Spring Meadow, my mind wasn't open yet. That game had something to prove to me, because it was the first with this Tetris pieces I played. It was about gardening, so the theme didn't matter at all, and then it was really good, and so now I went into these I like these games now, and so I was looking for what I liked for it. So if you haven't played any of these and you're kind of taken aback by the theme, I wouldn't necessarily start with this one. I would start with Indian Summer. But if this is something that looks interesting to you, then I can definitely recommend it, because it's a pretty laid-back game about gardening. There's maybe a little bit of cutthroat in it if you want it, but for the most part, it's just puzzling and finding the best way to do it. There's luck that comes up with this piece is here, and maybe not even luck as much, but just I hope he doesn't draw that, and you get lucky if he doesn't. So I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing it again if I'm looking for that lighter, quicker game.
I agree. I did enjoy it. I would definitely play it again. And even okay, sure, I'd probably choose one of those other two first, but if I played those other two kind of a lot, yeah, I would totally play this. It's not no, I'm only going to play those other two, instead of this. No, I still totally, and it's also a completionist thing. You have to have.
You can't have
all
just
three.
the two.
Yeah, you can't put them up on your shelf and have them not line up.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
The other thing I do like about this one that the other two, or that especially that Spring Meadow doesn't have. In Spring Meadow, my complaint was that these things are all just tossed in the box and you pick them out randomly, and I was like, you need a draw bag or something. And this, they are laid out in an order. So while your table's a little bit messy because it has these tiles all over it, there's still some semblance of order to how these pieces move, and that just I don't know if it's the anal retentive part of me that needs that done, but
it is.
I did like that about it.
Well, if any of what we were talking about sounds interesting to you, we're going to put a purchase link to this game and probably the other ones in the description box down below. Go get yourself a copy or 4.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
Tiny machine guns.
Yeah.
That's when you're playing Magic and it'll say you get to scry and you get to put these cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. I'm like, really? You're going to plan for... Oh, fuck. It wasn't off.
I would start with when you're playing Magic.
Yeah.